Stop, you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Subscribe now, we have new stories every day. Now let's go. I gazed at the beautiful azure waters, watching the small waves lap onto the pristine white sand. I felt such peace, such happiness, being here with my wife as we celebrated our 30th anniversary. Just moments ago, the tranquility of this paradise island had been shattered. Mary, let me get this straight. We're here celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary on this romantic island, and you're telling me you want to spend the night with another man. How can you even ask me that? Mark, darling, don't be like that. You know I love you more than anything in the world. I just want to do this for John and Amy. I know you've been just as moved by their story as I have. It's just one night. One night to bring a little happiness to a dying and lonely old man. And besides, it's not like you'd be completely alone. I've seen the way you look at Amy. She's a beautiful young woman. Yes, Amy is a beautiful young woman, but she is not my wife. I know she wants you to be with her father and is willing to sleep with me to seal the deal, but she's not my wife. I've never cheated on you, and 5 minutes ago, I believed you would never cheat on me either. I have never cheated on you, Mark, and I never will. That's why we're having this conversation. Amy and I talked about it all day while you and John were out riding jet skis. She knows how lonely John has been since he lost his wife 3 years ago. Now, with his diagnosis, he has less than 6 months to live. Mark, she just wants him to experience the pleasure of being with a woman one last time before he becomes too sick to do so. But why you? Why don't you just find him a girl? Heck, if they can afford a vacation on this island, they can afford a girl too. Amy said she tried to arrange that on the mainland before they left, but John got really angry with her. He doesn't believe in paying for sex. He says any woman who comes to his bed should do it willingly, out of desire for him, not for his money. So, you're saying you desire John. You said it would be pity sex, but now you're saying you desire him. So it's not just about being kind and loving to a dying man. You actually want this old man. Don't be rude. Yes, John is a handsome and charming man, with kind and gentle manners, but he's also very masculine. So while I wouldn't do this if he weren't dying, I admit that I think I'll enjoy it. But having said that, just look at Amy. She's 20 years younger than us and stunning. You can't tell me you wouldn't enjoy that. So Mary, it sounds like you've already decided to spend the night in his bed. I assume Amy has told John about your desire. Did you discuss this with him? Have you already told him that I agreed to let you do this? Yes, Mark. I talked to John while you were in the shower. I told him a little white lie. I said that we've swapped partners before and that you really want to be with Amy. Amy told him she's eager to be with you too. He was very reluctant, but eventually he agreed. I told him I'd come to their villa at 7.30 and Amy would come here at the same time. So this is how you're asking for my permission? You're just telling me that it's already done. I really have no say in the matter at all. Well, let me tell you this. I do not agree. If you go through with this, our marriage might be ruined forever. I can't stop you without physically restraining you, and you know I'd never hurt you. But this will undoubtedly hurt you, S. Mark, this is just something I feel compelled to do. Making love to a lonely old man, giving him one last chance to feel like a real man, is something I simply must do for him. Please, Mark, enjoy your time with Amy, and tomorrow we'll be together again forever. Mary stood up and went back to our villa to prepare for her evening. I sat there, staring at the water. How did this happen to me? My wife is leaving me to spend the night with a man we met just a few days ago. A man who must be at least 60 years old. Mary has always been soft-hearted, and now she wants to sleep with some soft-hearted old man out of pity. No, that's just her excuse. She's infatuated with this old charmer and is using his diagnosis as a pretext to sleep with the bastard. Well, I'm not going to make this easy for her. I stood up and headed to the villa. Mary was dressed in a light summer dress and sandals. I could smell the expensive perfume I had given her before we left home. She was putting on her second diamond earring. Stop. I bought you those earrings as a token of my love, not for you to look good while cheating on me. Take them off, and don't wear the perfume I bought you. Wash it off immediately. It's bad enough that you're humiliating me and betraying me tonight, but I'll be damned if you're going to do it while wearing my anniversary gifts. Mark, you're being ridiculous. I'm not cheating on you. We agreed. We're swapping partners. You'll be with Amy. Now leave and let me finish getting dressed. I took 3 quick steps across the room and grabbed her left wrist. I slipped her wedding rings off her finger and held out my hand. Give me the earrings or I'll rip them out of your ears. With a frightened look, Mary removed the earrings and placed them in my hand. I put them in my pocket and turned to leave. Don't bother coming back tomorrow. You can just stay with them. I went to the fridge, grabbed 6 cans of beer, and returned to my chair on the beach. I took a sip of beer and stared at the water. My mind was racing. What should I do? What can I do? If Mary came to me right now and said she had canceled everything, I'm not even sure I could forgive her. But if she goes to him tonight, our marriage is over. I sat there in turmoil for over an hour before Amy approached me. Mark, I've been looking for you. Do you want me to join you here, or would you prefer to go inside? Amy walked around my chair and stood in front of me. Amy, you're a beautiful young woman, but I'm a married man, at least for now. I know you and Mary had an arrangement for tonight, but I never agreed to your plan. I told Mary the first didn't agree, and she wanted John anyway. She's cheating on me with your father, and I'm going to divorce her as soon as we get back home. Oh my God, Mark, you can't think like that. You know why she's doing this. It's an act of kindness. She's not cheating. She loves you, and I know you love her. Please, Mark, let me take your mind off of this. Amy slid one thin strap of her summer dress off her shoulder, then the other her dress fell to the ground completely naked. She took a deep breath, causing her firm chest to rise. She really was a beauty. Her light blonde hair fluttered in the breeze. Her slender hands rested on the curve of her hips, with fiery red nails contrasting against her tan skin. She waited for my gaze to return to her, then smiled. I think we could have a little fun. She's having a good time. You deserve some fun too. Mark, I've really been looking forward to being with you tonight. Please, let's go inside, and let me help you forget about her for one evening. My eyes locked onto the sexy blonde as she reached for me and asked to take her inside. The 4 beers I'd had were almost enough to let my lust overtake my reason, but my anger prevailed. I stood up, grabbed Amy by the arm, and marched her back to my villa. I went straight to the bedroom, telling Amy to get some wine from the fridge. I entered the bedroom and slammed the door, sliding the small bolt shut. Mark, let me in. Why are you doing this? Please, Mark, open the door and let me in. Please, Mark. Amy, my wife has decided to become an adulteress, but that doesn't mean I have to follow her example. I made a vow, and I'm going to keep it until I can divorce that woman. You can leave, or you can sleep on the couch, but you're not sleeping with me. Amy tried to convince me to open the door, but eventually she gave up. I lay down on the bed and pulled the pillow over my head. I was emotionally drained, and with the help of the beer, I fell asleep. I was awakened by another knock at the bedroom door. Mark, open up, let me in. Mark. This time, the voice belonged to my unfaithful, soon-to-be ex-wife. She knocked on the door. Mark, honey, please open the door. We need to talk. We need to put all this behind us. Please, Mark, I love you. I know I hurt you, but it's over now, and tonight we can be together. Please, Mark, this is our last day on the island. I want to spend it with you, my husband, the only man I've ever loved. The room was flooded with bright morning sunlight. I had a slight headache, and the knocking on the door wasn't helping. I got out of bed, walked to the door, and slid the bowl back. Mary burst into the room and rushed to hug me. I pushed her away harshly. Don't touch me, you filthy woman. You come to me straight from his bed and expect me to welcome you into my arms. You must be completely insane. I can smell him on you even from here. Go take a shower and clean yourself up, you dirty wretch. Mary gasped in horror and then burst into tears. She turned and ran to the bathroom, crying out, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't think. Mark, please. I'll be out in a few minutes. I'm so sorry. I went to the kitchen and made some coffee. I regretted that there was no cell service on the island, so I couldn't get out of here before our flight at 6 p.m. I looked at the clock. 11:30. That meant I had to be alone with her the whole damn day. Mary walked into the kitchen. She had wrapped a towel around herself, and her wet curls hung over her bare shoulders. 2 days ago, I would have jumped out of my chair and embraced my beautiful wife. Today, I just sat there, sipping my coffee and staring at her. Mark, I'm all clean now. I washed everything several times. Mark, please, I'm still me. I'm still your wife. Please, honey, say something. Put some Dan clothes on, and then we need to talk about what's going to happen next. But, Mark, aren't you going to take your wife back? Amy and John said you'd want me back. They said you'd want me more than ever. Please, Mark, I want you to take me back, to make me yours again. Shut your damn mouth, you filthy woman. I'm never touching you again. Now get your cheating ass in there and put some clothes on. Mary burst into tears and ran to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. She returned as I was pouring the last of the coffee into my cup. Mary saw the empty coffee pot and realized there was no point in asking me to make more. She quietly filled the pot and turned it on. Once the coffee was brewed, she poured herself a cup and sat down at the table. Mark, Amy told me you locked her out last night. I don't understand why you did that. I thought you would have been having sex all night and then couldn't wait to tell me all about it this morning. I thought we'd have a good laugh about our adventures and then you'd make love to me all day. God, who the hell are you? You can't be the same woman I married 30 years ago. How could you even believe that I would agree to this damn plan? Mark, we're on a tiny island. The other 2 villas are empty, so it's just the 4 of us. No one will ever know what we did here. You had a beautiful young woman begging you to have sex with her, and you had my blessing to do it. What sane man would pass up that opportunity? You just don't get it. I loved you. Only you. It doesn't matter that no one else would have known what I did, because I would have known what I did. I made a vow, and vows mean that you do what you promised, even when no one is watching. Obviously, your vows meant nothing to you, but to me, they meant everything, and you broke them. Mark, I thought you would enjoy it. I knew it might hurt a little at first, but I thought that once you started with Amy, you'd really like it. I didn't know you locked yourself away from her in the bedroom until she told us this morning. I just assumed you had a wonderful night. Just like you, Mary? You mean like your wonderful night, having dirty sex with John? Yes, damn it. It was a wonderful night. John is an amazing lover, and I did have a wonderful night. You could have had a wonderful night too, but no, you had to be a Dan saint. Well, it's your own damn fault that you missed out on your wonderful evening. I waited until I had my anger under control. Then I calmly said, no, Mary, I've already had 5 wonderful nights with you. I didn't need a wonderful night with Amy. I was looking forward to another wonderful night with you, but you chose to be with John because you believed he needed you. Well, I needed you too, but I guess that just didn't matter to you. I got up and walked to my lounge chair. I pulled my beach hat down over my eyes and tried to fall asleep. About an hour later, a large shadow loomed over me. I looked up into the smirking face of my wife's lover. Hey, buddy, I'm really sorry about the confusion. I swear. I thought you were on board with the plan last night. He tried to sound sincere, but he couldn't completely hide his smirk. That's when I realized it had all been a setup. This lying bastard sold Mary a sob story, and the foolish woman fell for it. This guy gets his kicks out of sleeping with married women and uses Amy to help make it happen. I understand John. I slowly stood up. John extended his right hand for a handshake. I looked at his face, and his smirk was triumphant. He really believed he had outplayed me. I casually lifted my left hand in an awkward handshake. John glanced down at my left hand. I raised my right fist and drove it into his throat. John immediately grabbed his throat with both hands and staggered back. I stepped forward and did my best to send his jewels back to the mainland. John dropped to his knees, and I struck him in the temple with my elbow. I seriously considered dragging his limp body into the water and drowning the son of a bitch, but then I heard Mary scream. I turned to see her running toward me. She rushed past me straight to the unconscious body sprawled on the beach. Oh my God, what have you done? Oh, John, are you okay? Mary lightly slapped John, trying to bring him back to consciousness. I had to laugh. She slapped him right near the spot where I had elbowed him, and I thought, that's gotta hurt, really hurt. I returned to the villa and went inside to grab a beer and something to eat. I sat on the porch and watched as Mary and Amy helped a staggering John back to the villa. When he got closer, he turned and looked at me. The triumphant smirk was gone, replaced by nothing but fear. I didn't see Mary again until the boat arrived. She quickly packed her things and hurried to the pier. When we boarded the boat, Amy and Mary spoke with a crew member, and I assumed he used the radio to contact the mainland, because we were met by a uniformed officer. Mark and Mary Stevens? I nodded. Please, come with me. We followed the man into a small office, and he pointed to a couple of chairs. We sat down, and he offered us something to drink before getting serious. I understand there was an altercation with Ron Cook and his playmate, Amber Jones. No, officer, you're mistaken. It was the Phillipses, John and his daughter Amy, Mary said, staring intently at me. John and his daughter Amy, Mary said, staring intently at me. Oh, are those the names they used this time? Excuse me, officer. John and Amy are my new friends, and my husband attacked poor John for no reason. Ma'am, do me a favor and shut up. I want to talk to Mr. Stevens, and I don't want any interruptions. I laughed. Please call me Mark. How can I help, officer? Mark, I think you must have figured out Cook's game, and that's why you, expressed your displeasure during your, conversation. Maybe, but I'm not admitting to anything. The officer chuckled. You sound like a true American. Well, Mark, this is the 5th time Cook has pulled this stunt with some unsuspecting tourist. At least, it's the 5th case we've heard about because of a complaint or a dispute. I have no idea how many times he's gotten away with it. From what I understand, the next step for Miss Jones is to contact your wife in a few months and inform her that her lover has passed away. Then, she'll ask your wife for some money to help bring Cook's body back to the States to be buried next to his late wife. Wow, this is an even bigger scam than I thought. He convinces foolish wives to sleep with him, then has his woman trick them again to get some money. Not a bad play. Yeah, but thanks to you, I suspect he'll be out of the game, at least at our resort. So who is Jones? She's obviously not his daughter. Amber Jones was a stripper at a club in Miami when Cook met her. He had just won a small lottery prize and convinced her that he was very wealthy. She traveled with him for a while until he developed this scam, and now it's pretty much all they do. She wants to be an actress and thinks this will help her get by. Cook just loves cuckolding husbands and then making their foolish wives send Amber money. He bragged that it's like getting the cuckolds to pay him for sleeping with their wives. At that moment, Mary, with tears streaming down her face, began to sob and lament. Oh God, I'm so foolish. I gave up my husband because I believed this lie. Mrs. Stevens, you're not the first woman these two have deceived. I have 2 other women who want to press fraud charges against Cook and Jones. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Stevens, if you want to drop the charges, I think I can convince Mr. Cook to do the same. Either way, your flight leaves in the morning, and once you're in the air, you'll be out of my jurisdiction. I looked at Mary. She nodded and said, I just want to go home. Please, Mark, just take me home. After we returned home, Mary tried to convince me how sorry she was for doing something so horrible. She claimed that she had been deceived or maybe even hypnotized by John and wasn't in her right mind when she cheated. I served her divorce papers 5 days after we landed. She had a nervous breakdown and was hospitalized for several months. That didn't stop the divorce. She tried to get our adult children to intervene and help her, but once I told them the whole story, they refused to assist her. Eventually, she gave up, and we agreed to a standard 50-50 split. We sold the house for a nice sum. I have to pay alimony for the next 10 years, and after that, she'll have a decent nest egg to rely on. Sometimes I look back on it all and marvel at how a trip to paradise ended my 30-year marriage and left me to grow old completely alone. Fortunately, my daughter had other plans for me and introduced me to her neighbor. We hit it off, and it looks like things might get serious, but I can guarantee that we won't be spending our honeymoon on a paradise island. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.